The guys in the front office were here under Bill. They're not new to the building. They just got to stay. It's not like they got brought into the building a year ago. So it's not like, hey, we hired you and now we're firing you in a short amount of time. They just carry over. Eliot Wolf, Matt Groh, whoever else you want to name in the front office, carried over the things that they liked from under Bill and just kept doing what they were doing. They probably eliminated the things they didn't like in their systems and processes.
They changed the system. Yeah.
And they kept the things they liked. And so they just tweaked it to their liking once Bill was out. And the results at the most important position that isn't quarterback on that side of the ball now is receiver. And this team has failed time and time again to identify talent at that position. They spent 2 draft picks on 2 guys who can't apparently make it at this level. One of them is Jalen Polk. You want to see anything from Jalen Polk. Yet there is zero expectation that Javon Baker will even be on the field. They could have had Ladd McConkey. Here we are again, talking about a player they could have had. They traded out of the spot and took 2 guys who stink. And here's another thing about GMs in this league. Many times, they are out of the public eye. When was the last time you saw Eliot Wolf? Fans, when did you see him last? August?
Yeah, in the booth with Zoe, right? That
August, during a halftime interview on the team broadcast of a preseason game. Is that the last time we saw him?
Yeah, it might have been. He did a couple press conferences around that time. But yeah, that could have been it.
They are not heard from. They are not often seen. And nobody outside of the sport, right, people who don't work in the sport, give a damn about GMs. They don't care. And so, fine. Some other people in the sport look at you and say, ooh, that's kind of rough. What are you guys doing? You fired him after giving him the job a year ago? And for once, I would just like the Patriots to own something and be like, yeah, we did. We fired him because he didn't have a good draft after he took the 3rd quarterback in a 3-quarterback draft at the top. And we're not happy with what we've done. Do you see our team? Do you see how they play every week? They're devoid of talent. So, yeah, we had to let him go. We gave him an opportunity, held the guy over from the previous regime. That was a mistake. We made a mistake. Now we're making it right. And then I'm going to tell you what that new GM could do for them. He could be the bad guy in a year when they let go of their head coach. Yeah, the GM need to give him his own head coach. So we're going to let him hire the next head coach. That's what we're going to do. We're going to find a guy that fits for him. And then by the end of next season, everything's changed.
Do you think they're actually going to do this?
I don't know if that's in the book.
It feels like they might have.
What am I going to do with this if he gets fired? What am I going to do with this book? I'll donate it. Someone else needs this book.
Listen, a lot of the principles in there,
a
lot of the principles in there are applicable across jobs, right? Across situations. That's why you make a book like that, right? So whether you're in business, or you're in football, or you're in radio, I think you could maybe learn a little something there from Ron Wolf.
Well, number 1 is identify what needs to be fixed. Number 2 is hire the best before anybody else does.
Not your son.
Develop an obsession with winning today. They do not look obsessed with winning right now. In fact, Gerard Mayo is already telling us he's going to be a better coach in year 2. Oh, I can't wait for that. You know what? The first season of the show really sucks. You got to really grind your way through it.
It's like Seinfeld.
Just get to season 2. Season 2 will be great. That's what I tell people about Breaking Bad. I'm like, you got to get through season 1. You're going to appreciate it a lot more later on. You may even go back at some point and watch it again. But as a new show that you know nothing about, it's going to be a bit of a grind. Do we think Gerard Mayo is Breaking Bad?
Do you actually say that about Breaking Bad?
I do.
Oh, okay.
I do say that about Breaking Bad. It's a little bit tough in season 1.
First few episodes slow.
I would say first 4 episodes.
Turn it into the greatest show of all time, maybe?
I love it.
Listen, you've seen trajectories like that happen in the NFL. You know what Bill Parcells' record was his first year as head coach in
Is
New
it
York?
about the record, though? Is it about records, or is it about how you handle the gig and if you're in command and how it looks? Because there are a lot of really good coaches who had really bad records in year 1.
Yeah.
Jimmy Johnson with the Cowboys, 1-15.
Happens.
But you knew Jimmy Johnson at least could coach and run a team. I mean, he had a lot of success at the collegiate level. The guy who you could throw back in my face as the opposite of that would be Nick Saban, who flamed out quickly in Miami. Wanted Drew Brees. They wouldn't let him have Drew Brees, but, all that.
I don't think you think they're actually going to move on from either of these guys, though. Mayo or Wolf.
I don't think they're going to. I don't think it's likely they're moving on from Mayo.
Don't you think
it's more likely than not, to quote.
You think it's more likely than not they're going to move on from Eliot Wolf?
It's more likely than not that they keep Gerard Mayo.
Okay.
Ooh. And I think it's far easier to fire Eliot Wolf. But that requires work and effort. And I don't think this team has wanted to put in the work for years now. That's why they are where they are. Ownership doesn't want to put in the work. Don't want to run a search for GM. Don't want to run a search for coach. This is what you end up with. You made your own bed. Now lie in it. As we have 3 wins on the year and a bad roster and a coach that's all over the map and a GM that has made no meaningful additions to the roster outside of Drake May. Fine. Have a little credit for Drake May. Fine.
There's movement.
Fine.
That's
movement. You know what? That's not enough to keep the job in my mind. It isn't. Even if you nailed the pick, it ain't enough to keep the job.
It is. Generally speaking, in the NFL, it is.
That's because the NFL is cheap.
Well, listen. If you're the Crafts, don't you want to give your guy? These are your guys. Whether you like it, whether fans like it, whether anybody likes it or not.
I don't like it. I don't like these guys.
These are their guys.
I don't like these guys.
They are going to give them time to dig out from this.
Man, loyalty is going to bite them in the ass really hard.
Well, it's loyalty, but it's also loyalty to your own decision-making process. Whether you, again, and I didn't agree with it, especially a general manager at the time. Even if Eliot Wolf is a general manager, a qualified general manager candidate, which he was and is. That one was not one you had written into the contract where as soon as Bill left, he was just going to elevate and take that job. That is what you had with Gerard Mayo. And so to a degree, I understand not conducting an entire search for a head coach, even though you still could have benefited from that too and ultimately hired the guy. A general manager, you had real, again, qualified individuals from around the league who wanted that job, who were interested in that job. And you bypass the process for the most part. I can tell you, they interviewed, I think on the books, they interviewed 2 candidates for what was ultimately Eliot Wolf's job. But people around the league didn't feel like it was a real search because they were real GM qualified people that would have been willing to interview, and they were never even contacted. And that's the one that's surprising to me. And that would buttress your point, Beetle.
Thank you.
That they didn't want to do the for whatever reason. It's because they were so sold on Eliot Wolf and the time that he spent in the building with them for a few years before Bill Belichick's departure that they just felt, you know what, we already have the guy. Well, now you do have to lie in this bed. Lay in this bed, lie in this bed. Which is it? Is that in the Packer way by any chance? I don't know. You get my drift, though. So I don't think they're moving on from either guy.
Lie in the bed.
Okay.
Yeah. You've got to lie in the bed.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, no, I think that's the proper way to do it. No, I'm looking at the back of the book right now. Use the 4 C's. What were the 4 C's again? They all just put. What was the word they just put before? Certain, right?
Compete.
Certain devotion, certain dedication, certain work ethic.
Change coach, change GM, change personnel.
The C word should be change, which is what's needed. Bert yells at me every time I talk about firing Eliot Wolf. He's like, the bad organizations fire GMs, fire coaches, and don't marry them together. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, you don't want to do that because they're such a good organization right now. They're just so great that upgrading anything would be a bad idea. You're right.
Are these guys married together, though, Phil, or is it an arranged? Don't you feel like this is more of an arranged marriage?
Oh, these guys had a relationship beforehand.
But they both report to ownership, which is what Gerard Mayo told us in his interview with Tommy Curran, that they have a debrief after every game.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.